to mark her out as a scholar. Modestly wrapped in the many folds of the cloak, Hypatia walked in the middle of town and lectured on Plato, Aristotle, or the works of any philosopher requested by someone in the audience.
I love it.
It's impossible to overstate how unusual it was for a woman in 4th century Alexandria to talk in the public square, to educate the men of the city. The contemporary historian Socrates Schoolasticus devoted a good deal of space to explaining how she managed to conduct herself in public. He credited the cultivation of her mind for giving her a self-possession and ease of manner which allowed her to appear in public in front of magistrates or any assembly of men. And he concluded, for all men, on account of her extraordinary dignity and virtue, admired her the more. However, her public role as a woman did not always go smoothly, as recounted by another source. This man claimed that because Hypatia was so beautiful and shapely, that one of her students fell in love with her and kept showing his infatuation in public. In response, Hypatia drew attention to the fact that she was a woman, and Socrates Schoolasticus, the author of the life of Hypatia, wrote what happened next. She gathered rags that had been stained during her menstrual period and showed them to him as a sign of her unclean descent, and said, "This is what you love, young man, and it isn't beautiful." He was so affected by shame and amazement at the ugly sight that he experienced a change of heart and went away a better man. These repeated references to her gender in these accounts that by and large praised her wisdom, education, and rhetorical skills show how unusual she was. The male historians weren't sure how to treat her accomplishments in the public arena. Fortunately, we can get a glimpse through more private side, through a series of letters written to Hypatia from her former student, Bishop Synesius of Cyrene. Synesius addressed them all to the philosopher. Hypatia was the one philosopher above all others to him. Synesius's letters to Hypatia cover several kinds of themes, and all testify to her important influence in his life. Some letters refer to intellectual pursuits. We have seen that he wrote asking Hypatia to build a hydrometer. This is the scientific side, but like her, his great love was philosophy. He sent her books that he had drafted and wanted her to read them before he published, or to be more precise, circulated them. He wrote of a book on philosophy, "If you decree that I ought to publish my book, I will dedicate it to orators and philosophers together. If it does not seem to you worthy of Greek ears, mankind will never hear it mentioned." He also sent her a work on dreams that he said contains an inquiry into the whole imaginative soul. He said that she would be the first to read it and see if he should pursue the inquiry. These kinds of letters reflect his continued appreciation for her intellect and critical eye. Some letters asked Hypatia for references for some students, and other letters recommended young scholars to be accepted as her students. These requests are just like modern correspondences that university professors receive regularly and show a kind of timelessness to the enterprise of teaching and learning. Other letters were more personal.